So we've just wrapped up. It was probably a little bit of a long one, but this was a bit of a recap on what happened this year, and it was primarily focused on the kind of changes that I've made going into different industries and what I drew on to make that a lot smoother.
Yeah, final recorded episode for 2025. So we thought we'd do a bit of a recap of the year, not so much in what we've done, but more so in what we've learnt and what changes have come into play. I mentioned that for me, this was a continuation of the path I was on without radical changes this year. So I didn't talk much on this podcast. I did ask a lot of questions though. But James in particular had a lot of insights into both what he's learned, what he's done, what has changed, and also what he leveraged from his last 5 or 6 years in high ticket that he then brought into his new world, and how that's really worked out well for him.
Yeah. So there'll be some tangents as per usual with an unscripted episode. But if you have any questions, just drop a comment down below.
Beer theme, I was thinking about this because I thought if you haven't thought of anything, what could we do? And I thought end of year was the first thing that came to mind because it's cliche. But then I thought I'd have to really think about what I've learnt this year. It just feels like a continuation of the arc I was on rather than like a transformational pivot or shift. You've had more of that than I have in the last 12 months, I'd say. For me, it's been a continuation.
So
Um,
for me, it is still a continuation, but I've been able to see all of the things that I've learned along the way, and I've learned so much more this year. It's not even funny. I was
well,
thinking
let's talk
about
about that then. Let's talk about that. It might be more focused on you than me. It might be
yeah.
more me interviewing you because I think, you've had on a personal level and a business level and an industry level, like more change this year than I have.
Yeah.
As I said a moment ago, really this year's been a continuation of something I committed to a couple of years ago and just, fleshing it out and pushing it forward and, all that sort of stuff. But directionally, we're the same. Whereas you have had forks in the road and gone that way and new things started. So, should we talk about that?
Yeah. Um, I'll just move the camera a little bit. So it's changed a lot. It has changed so much. It's not even funny. So I think the continuation part is all of the stuff that I was doing in high ticket with building a brand, building a
Yep.
status, and then
Yep.
monetizing that. It's just taking exactly what I did there and
Yep.
reapplying it to a new industry. And we had no customer facing anything at the start of this
Hmm.
year. We had no brand. We didn't even have a website.
Hmm.
Um, so that started in probably March, April. We
Yep.
went properly public facing, and I've realized I realized one thing early in the process in that I'm very good in that mad scramble at the start to get everything together, to start to
Hmm.
build some kind of credibilities, to start to build any kind of presence, and then how to build that status. And then I kind of hit a point maybe in June, May or probably June, where
Hmm.
we were already kicking massive goals, just bigger months than I've ever had. And I kind of hit this point where, and we can circle back to a lot of this, where I had that momentum. And because I'd been in startups, which is all of the remote sales stuff, the high ticket stuff, it had
Hmm.
always been a mad scramble. And then we kind of got out of it. And I thought, I just had this nagging feeling of, I feel like I'm missing something. And I felt like I was out of my element. So then I had to transition from being in that constant putting out fires to leveraging the momentum that we had. And then that kind of brought back old skills that I was doing way back when I was in corporate, but
Yep.
was doing it really poorly. So leveraging the existing clients that we had, maintaining the relationships. Um, and I know you're not the biggest fan of the word relationships, but this is 100% a relationship industry, because the people that buy
I'm not.
one are going to buy multiple.
I'm not anti it, just to clarify that for our viewers. I'm not anti relationships at all. I mean, you and I have a relationship. I've been the account I've sold on, I've been there for nearly 4.5 years now, so there's a continuity and relationship there. I just, as a general rule of thumb, I'm more attracted to transactional style selling dynamics than ongoing account management style, which are, that's the distinction.
And I think one to add a layer to that, when people try and step into the remote sales, high ticket, fast paced world with a relational sales style, it
Yep.
usually doesn't go too well unless you're on a very complicated sale. And one example of that is our friend Sam selling buyers advocacy services. It can
Yep.
take months for a sale
Yep.
to come to fruition. And they have
Yep.
to do things like be approved for finance and
Yep.
all of the things like that. That
Got to play the
is an exception, but I think you get a lot of the corporate relationship guys that come into this space and they just get destroyed.
and it goes the other way as well. If you take super transactional vibes over to a corp or a more relationship based setting, like they'll eat you alive. Yeah, just it's a preference. I prefer more transactional style selling dynamics than long repeat. But I get the appeal of that world, and I get with your business, it makes much more sense for that approach.
Well,
Did
what
you
do
did you
you
make, you have to make any adjustments because you've been in remote high ticket for roughly 5 years, as of March or so at the start of this year when you went full time, more or less with your business. As a guy who'd been predominantly in transactional style environments for the last 5 years and remote as well, as opposed to I know you do a lot of in-person work now and phone-based work. Like, what was that like?
I love it. It was great. It was great. Funnily enough, you'll understand this because of the photo shoot we had in Guatemala. I
Yep.
never realized how much I have to work on my face, not looking angry when I'm on a Zoom call. And I never realized how exhausting that was. And then since then, it's been mostly phone calls and some in person, I'm fine. But I would sit and if I relax my face, I just have such a mean look. So I would always have to be on and focusing on keeping even neutral. Whereas on the phone, I can just sit back, lean, and actually listen to what they're saying. So that was one change I didn't think much about, but was
Mm,
kind of nice. But no, I really enjoyed the change. I like the idea of. I think it's because it's my own thing. In that it's my own
yep.
company. I've got a business partner who is phenomenal at all of the manufacturing side of things. And we have
Yep.
this very clear demarcation. And even if I'm thinking about doing something, I'll call him and say, hey, what do you think about this? He's like, hey, I trust you. You,
Yep.
you do what you need to do. Um, Being able to form this and then on the back of that, take all of the data on what's actually being said, how the calls are going, what people are saying, and then kind of merging all of the sales stuff with the AI stuff. Even at the moment, I'm taking pretty much all of the calls from this year, all of the content that I've done, what has done the best, and I'm putting all of that through AI agents and having it analyze what's working, what's not, even all of our ads, where have the leads come from, what's working the best, what can we be testing. Uh, I hadn't done anything to do with ads before this, and to
Mm,
preface this, I still don't understand media buying. And it was one
mhm,
of those things I was speaking to a friend of mine, Shane. We speak every couple of weeks. And this is at the start. And I said, for someone that's about to start doing ads, what would you recommend? And he said, just pay someone. Pay
mhm,
someone because the time it would take you to become anywhere near as proficient as they are, if you get someone good, the amount of extra you would have to spend in ad spend to get the same, it's just the opportunity cost is too high. But
mhm,
learning even how ads work and taking what we already understand of buyer behavior. How do we grab them? Do we want a positive based hook? Do we want a negative based hook? What are we going to do in the body? And then learning, like it's like scripting. You have 4 to 5 different ways to ask one question.
mhm,
I was
mhm,
recording
mhm,
ads yesterday and I had a 2 minute variation and I had a 30-second variation. And then I had 3 or 4 different variations of that 30-second one. And then one of them just completely hit. But then again, it's also testing those in the market and seeing what works best. Um,
mm.
I'm kind of jumping all over the shop here, but
No, you're not. I'm following. I'm sure the viewers
yeah,
are as well. Because having known you for a long time, like the stuff you just talked about the last few minutes, creating ads, testing AI. If we go back a year ago, okay, you were using AI a year ago, probably in a different way and for a different reason. But this whole talk of creating ads and running ad campaigns and media buying and all that sort of stuff, I believe that's new. I don't think you were talking about that 8, 10, 12 months ago.
no, no,
What, what if anything, could you take from your sales experience going into that world?
everything, everything. So it's interesting. So I go to cafes a couple of days a week at least, just to write content. I'm a lot more creative there, and do
Okay.
things. And sometimes I have my AirPods in, and sometimes I just don't play any music.
Mhm.
And the times that I don't is when there's other sales guys in there. Like you can tell when an account manager walks in, you're like,
See,
haha.
this for the viewers. This has been an inside running narrative for quite a few years now. Like I think James gets no more pleasure than going to a cafe and observing the real estate agent guys come in, the sales rep guys come in, the corporate guys come in in their cheap, poorly fitted suits, talking shop. you always get a good laugh out of
Or
that.
when they're
What
trying
have
to
you
pitch
seen or
someone,
observed?
when they're trying to pitch
Yeah.
someone in the cafe, as in person, or if they're on the phone with a customer. And I think that
Go
the
on.
thing that you'll go through, like if we had to make it nice and simple, what do you need from a sales call? You need to
Yep.
understand where they are right now, what their current
Yep.
problems are. Like if we're going super literal, what their current problems are, how they feel about it, and the
Yep.
implications of that. You want to
Yep.
figure out how long it's been going on. Then you
Yep.
also want to figure out what the alternative is, what the ideal world looks like, what the implications mean for them, timelines at
Yep.
play, budgets, just all of the basic things you need to
Right.
progress a call. The kind of ones that if you get off the call, if you miss the timeline of them making a decision, and all of a sudden, you go to give them an offer or something like that, they're like, oh no, we don't even have the ABN set up, or we don't have the
Right.
office yet. You're like, I
Yep.
missed out on
Yep.
that.
Yep.
That's the biggest thing of being able to just intuitively tick off everything before it goes further, uh, in such a way that the prospect doesn't feel like they've just been interrogated.
Yeah. Yeah. They should never feel that. You're
Never.
doing it all wrong if they're feeling that. Yeah, it should
Mm.
feel collaborative, should feel well intended, it should appeal to their self interest, context should be given that makes the question appropriate and actually desirable to answer. And when you do that well, the word interrogation never comes up.
Mm.
Have you been witnessing some interrogations in the coffee shops?
Embarrassingly so. And that
I'll
sounds
give-
really judgy of me to say. So I was at one
well,
cafe in,
it's politically incorrect to judge, but let's be honest, humans judge. I judge all the time. It doesn't mean my face gives me away or I actually say something, but internally I judge like crazy.
there was one business coach in a cafe. It was Vandy's Cafe. And I was sitting there, and I sat down. I had the AirPods in. I stopped the music. I was like, I know what this is. This is going to be great. And they just sat down at the same time. There might have been a minute of small talk, and then this
Yeah.
guy just went straight into the pitch, just straight into it. And the guy sitting across the other side of the table, you could see he was just like,
uh, I've got a proposition for you. I think you should start a Substack or some other blog. Substack seems pretty popular these days, and call it Sales Tales from the Coffee Shop. And once a week, you go in there and observe an interaction, and then document it. And that would be your weekly post. I think that'd be amazing.
that would be kind of funny.
Yeah,
That would be quite, for sales tales from a cafe. There are a
yeah,
couple of cafes in particular where,
yeah.
so there are some cafes where groups of account managers get together and they talk about the bloody prospects. Oh, they this, they that. And I hear how they speak. I'm like, no, the common denominator in all of these situations is you. And I think you're the
Yeah,
problem.
yeah.
But then alternatively, when I speak to all of these people, because they've spoken to someone else, and we are the ultra premium in the market, we are by and large 50% more expensive than anything else nearby.
Okay.
They are speaking to people that are on the complete other end of the market that say they can do what we can do. They can't, but they say they can. And the question is, hey, who have you spoken to so far? How was that? Do you mind me asking? What were they like? And all of them say exactly the same thing. It's like talking to just a hungry sales guy. They didn't ask any questions about what's going on. They were just trying to pitch the same thing. And they won't stop calling me. It's like, oh, okay. Tell me about that. It's in every industry.
You're playing a different game. Playing a different game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about this before. For those who have done well in our remote high-ticket world, you've probably invested your own money and your own time and energy and effort and emotion in sales training with whoever it was, probably multiple people. Most people have gone with multiple people. You've probably been commission only, at least for a large period of time. So you've developed a skill set and a willingness and ability to invest in yourself and take ownership of you becoming better. And when you go into corporate, the vast majority of people, those things are not in play. So the difference in mindset and skill set and then everything that comes from those two things, is you're just playing a completely different game, which is one of the reasons why, in a dark humor sense, we find it quite amusing to, hear about those interactions. And I've interacted with that crowd before. Maybe I even was that crowd once before. I don't know.
I was that guy. I think that's why I find it funny, because it reminds me almost in a cringe way of a past version of myself.
My first job was for Jack Daniels. I was a territory sales rep. I had a large section of Melbourne, and I was responsible for, this is more than 20 years ago, 2003, 4, and 5. I had a large section in Melbourne, and I had the major retail sellers, bottle shops we call them in Australia, liquor stores, I guess, Americans. I had some supermarkets. I had some cafes, big cafes, like big food and beverage outlets. I had some nightclubs. And I used to go around into my territory and do 6 to 8 visits per day. And I would walk in with my clipboard and try and drum up some business. I would have been that guy for sure. I'm sure people laughed at me if I think about it now. There would have been some guy going, look at this guy. So we get it. We've been on the other side of the ledger as well.
So do you know what's interesting? I want to add this before we get too far away. It kind of brings all of this together, right? So there's a book called The Slight Edge. And for anyone listening that hasn't read it, immediately.
I haven't.
It's my favorite book. I listen to it at least twice a year.
Really?
It's incredible.
The Slight Edge. Okay.
The basic, I think it's Jeff Olson. The basic premise is that every single thing you do compounds. So whether it is in a positive direction or in a negative direction.
That is true. Yep.
And it talks about the slight edge as in there's not one day or one thing that happens that launches you astronomically high. And one example it does in there is obviously everybody knows about investing. You might think, oh, I'll invest when I get rich. And then all of a sudden, 10 years later, you finally get a first $5,000 that you can put in, whereas you could have been putting in $50 a week or whatever it is, $100 a week. And then in that 10 years, what would that equate to? Like 25,000 excluding.
Well, two things would have happened. Probably three things would have happened. A, you would have developed the habit of investing. B, it would have then changed your relationship with money. So, maybe more then got funneled into investing. And C, you would have got the effect of compound interest, or depending on what you invested in, dividend reinvestment or share price going up, again, depending on what you invested in. Regardless, any way you cut it, financially, you're in a way better position 10 years from now.
Way better position. So if I can bring that back to what we're talking about here, I have seen the very, very, very real application of that in what I'm doing. So at the start, like my first Instagram post, no one saw that. No one. Even people that I followed, people that we wanted to work with, they'd look at our page, see one post, 0 followers, and like, who's this guy? And every day, 5 days a week at least, I've posted on this. I've done content. And then since then, especially early days, people would see it like, oh, this guy actually knows what he's talking about. He's sharing all of this to 20 followers. All right, maybe I'll give him a follow. And then it constantly, if you consistently do it, it compounds. And then on top of that, I have a folder in Chrome. So twice a week, Tuesday and Friday afternoons, I right click, open all, and it is all of the Instagram pages of the companies that I want to work with. So twice a week, I go in there, I comment, engage with their posts and close. And there might be 80 or 100 in there right now. And every time I go to open it, Google Chrome says, are you sure you want to open 80 something tabs? Yes. And then twice a week. So the first time I do that, they're not going to pay any attention. The next time I do that, we're not going to pay any attention. But the 20th time, they're like, man, who's this? Who's this company? They just keep showing up. And then when I call them eventually, they're like, oh, hey, James, how you doing? Yeah, I saw you commented on our stuff. And then on top of that, ads, testing, what ads works, what doesn't. They might see, like we tested some ads to a different pool and it just didn't work. Whereas what we did is we then switched it around. They saw testimonials, proof that we can actually do what we say. Then we showed those people that watched it that exact same ad. And then that even compounds over time. And finally, I'll speak to people and they're like, yeah, I've been seeing that ad for ages. You listed everything that we've been going through, but we just weren't in a position to do it at that time. And I think if we bring it to the high ticket space, everybody wants to find, and they're so desperate to find an offer that'll get them to 10K a month. And within 2 weeks, they're stressing out because it hasn't happened. Whereas if you look at this over a year, you constantly keep doing the little things that compound. You just watch everything go in the right direction. And conversely, obviously, as you know, little man was born 4 weeks ago today.
Don't think you've publicly that on this podcast, so congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I had a lot of content done beforehand that was ready, but it wasn't scheduled. And I let a lot slip through the cracks. And that we have a consistent follow and engagement routine or not predictable kind of follows and engagement, which isn't high, but we get a lot of views. Since I stopped doing all of the things that I would normally be doing, being busy doing other things, I noticed all of that started to compound in a negative direction. So we were
Mm-hmm.
constantly up, 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 started to
Mm-hmm.
go down. Now I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
have to turn things around and keep them going.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's just, you look at it over a bigger time horizon,
Yep.
as long as you just keep consistently doing the right things. But for anyone that hasn't read The Slight Edge, listen to it if you prefer. I'm much better in audiobooks.
There's a YouTube summary because I just typed it in YouTube while we were talking.
Don't do the YouTube summary. Do the book.
Okay.
Do the
I
book.
was
It
going
is
to
worth
start
it.
with that, and then I was going to do the book after that. Get the
It's
sugar
worth
rush, get the sugar rush headlines, and then go in and do the deep dive.
it. Mm.
What's the main take home? Is it just the benefit of compounding? Is that the
The
main
benefit
take
of
home?
just even all of the little things that you don't think matter and one day
Yep.
off won't matter. It
Yep.
all adds up over time. And don't
Yep.
think about what you can do in 1 week, because you're not really
Yep.
going to be able to change too much in 1 week.
Yep.
But think about what you can do over 6 to 12 months, as long as you just continually show up and do the right things.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So cliche,
Um,
but I've been able to see that, where we literally picked up the number one customer in our industry. And
mhm.
that's been 9 months of
What
compounding
would
work.
you what would you put down as the major factor as to why you won that business?
Consistency in showing up,
Mm-hmm.
proof that we're able to do what we say we can do, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and consistency showing up. So my follow-up game is, not to toot my own horn, phenomenal, the best it's ever been.
Okay.
Uh, no one falls through the
What,
cracks.
what's your strategy with follow up?
Changes from each person. So one is the CRM is, you live and die by your CRM. Your
Mm-hmm.
your
What's
notifications,
what's
your
the CRM do
tasks.
you use?
I use Close.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is, I'll set a task, and this keeps happening. I'll set a task of, like, I said to someone that I'll reach back out in 3 weeks, or we're going to meet then, or something like that. I'll put it in the CRM, and when that task
Yep.
pops up, when I see it pop up, I think,
Yep.
"Whoa, how has that been 3 weeks?" If I
Yep.
didn't have that, everything would fall through the cracks. And the other side of
Yep.
it is, on every phone call, I'm extracting what the real factors at play, like we covered at the start, what's actually going on, what the
Yep.
next step is, why it's the next step, if it legitimately is the next step, or there's something else that they're not telling me, so that by the
Yep.
time we do get to that next step, they're not just fobbing
Yep.
off a sales guy. It's like, "Hey James, how you doing?" It's running that
Yep.
fine line between showing up, doing what you need to do, but not being seen as a salesman.
Sure. Sure. How would you say you're seen then? If you're not seen as a salesperson, how would you say you are seen by them? What's your best guess? What would they think of? What they think of you, or how would they categorize you if it's not a salesperson?
um that's a good
I have some
question.
thoughts. I have some thoughts.
Yeah, what are your
Would it
thoughts?
would it be an ally, a collaborator,
Yep.
a fellow industry pro?
Someone sitting on the same side of the table as them, because every interaction I go into, my
So
my
just listen to those words: ally, collaborator, fellow industry pro. All of them. Sorry, we're getting our wires crossed on the. Got a bit of a delay there. I was just saying. Think of those three words I just said. Then ally, collaborator, fellow industry pro. All of them imply we're on the same side of the table. Whereas the typical salesperson, there's an adversary element to it. We're on opposite sides of the table, winner takes all, zero sum game, me versus you. I want your money, you want the best price. Like there's all that silliness involved, and the better you get at sales, the more you lean into that side of selling, whilst absolutely retaining from your end boundaries and frame and not becoming subservient or giving things away you don't want to give away. It's just you know let's have an honest, well-intended conversation and see where we land. If I can help you, great. If I can't, that's fine as well. If you can help me, that's great too. It's just you bring that energy to a sales interaction. It's okay to say yes. It's okay to say no. We'll just see where we land. We're going to part as friends
It's
either
the
way.
energy that I show up with. I show up with the
Yep,
energy that, look, if we can't do it, if it's not a fit, I'm going to let you know. I'll point you in the right direction.
that's right.
And that's not just something that I say. We regularly have people reach out to us and engage with us, and I'll have a look at what they're doing, have a conversation with them. I just say, hey, we're not a fit. We're way too big for what you're
I
doing. It's not suited. You're better off to go here.
I had it on a sales call yesterday. I had a sales call for the one account I still sell for yesterday, and about 5 minutes in, I realized, like, respectfully and with dignity, this guy, I can't bring him in. He's not at the level of what we require to work with somebody. So very, very, very nicely, I told him that, very dignified, and I made a suggestion to a more appropriate program based on where he's at and where he wants to go and all the factors in play. And he was open to that, and I made an introduction because I know the person that does the enrollments for that program. I made an introduction straight after the email. We parted as friends 5-10 minutes later. Didn't even try to sell to him, and dignity was intact. My time was intact, and we all move on, and good vibes. Selling can be that. Selling should be that when you can't or shouldn't sell to the person that you're interacting with.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
know it is for you, and it certainly is for me. But for our viewers that maybe haven't experienced that world yet, there was a time back in the day where I didn't know about that world. I thought it was like, try and close everybody. Don't give up until they hang up on you or tell you to go away,
Yeah, it's
or they buy, of
exhausting.
course.
And it's uncomfortable, and you can feel that cringe.
Yeah.
And I think that this is the difference between persuasion and manipulation. So persuasion is when you are um, encouraging someone to do something that is in their best interest.
Yep.
Manipulation is when you're encouraging someone to do something that is in your best interest at their expense. And
Yep.
if I look at all of the, like, for us being the ultra premium, our brand is everything. Our reputation is everything. And we know that if we install or work with a company, their expectations will be completely blown away, but they
Mm-hmm.
have to be within our target market. And if we
Mm-hmm.
sell something to someone that is not a fit and isn't, um, that's hard to come back from. It's not hard. It's not hard to come back from. Ultimately, there will always be people that will have something to say at some point, um,
Sure.
but it's not the
But
brand that we're going for.
but it's also potential. It's an avoidable problem if you are very clear on who you're for and who you're not for, and you ask the right questions to determine if that's in play or not in play. You shouldn't be there. Like, you get yourself into situations where, if you're really honest, you're like, I shouldn't be here. I should have seen this coming. I ignore the
That's
red
the
flags.
thing,
That's the right.
though. With everything that I've learned in the remote sales and everything like that, you've got your layers. So you've got your
Mm,
features. What are the features? You got your benefits. What does that mean? Then you got the symptoms. How is the prospect? What's showing up in the prospect's world to have them realize that they have a need for those benefits, which means they have a need for those features. And then you've got the
mm,
emotions. How are they feeling about those symptoms? Frustrated, uncertain, annoyed, anxious, worried, all of
mm,
those. All of our branding, I went down deep in the rabbit hole, and it took me a good while to draw on everything. Everyone that sees our branding, content, website, they know we are hyper focused on this. We only target these people. If you are not
mm,
this group of people, we will not work with you.
mm.
In saying that, we have had another industry. I'll tell you about this off the podcast. We had another complete other industry that's a monster reach out to us that we didn't even think about. Um, but by and large, within the realm of the industry that we're targeting now, it's hyper clear who we help, what problems that we fix, and if you don't have these problems, probably not for you.
Yep. 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 Very good. Very good. So, in a nutshell, this was mainly focused on your evolution this year. What would you say, in summary, would be the main things that you learned or changed or adapted to this year, in summary? Because we covered a lot of terrain there. I said earlier, for me, this was more of a continuation of an arc I was already on, and just adding layers and pushing it further. I didn't have any mega transformations this year. I've had transformations in other years, but this wasn't a transformational year for me. It was an evolution. Sorry, it was a continued evolution, building on what I've already been doing. So I don't have any major stories to share. But you're the opposite. You had a big pivot this year. What would you say, in summary, were the main take home points?
The main take home points is I learned how to go from the scramble of a startup to leveraging something that I've built momentum in, which is a
Yep.
different hat that you have to wear. I learned how
Yep.
to spot or find issues that I would never have found before. And I think the
Yep.
biggest thing is transitioning from something that was a little bit more transactional to building those longer term relationships to be genuinely viewed uh,
Yeah.
and be the number one in a market that was already in everyone's eyes completely saturated. And we
Yep.
have just, there's no close second. And I know that
So
sounds really arrogant to say, but it's all about building that perception.
let's just stop on that point for a sec, because that's a worthy point of unpacking a bit more. I know we were getting into summary mode, but let's jump out of that for a second. What did you learn about going into a saturated, mature or mature-ish market and actually taking the number one spot in terms of premium? Maybe not in volume, or maybe volume. I don't know. Like, how if you were saying to somebody what you learned in doing that, or why they should consider that too, like, what do you say?
The one thing I'll say to preface this is that you have to truly be the number one in whatever you do. So we're fortunate to have a product that no one can come close to. We have patents on designs that no one else can do that are very desirable. Um,
Okay.
the way we differentiated ourselves primarily because it was still, we had customers before we went public facing, but we didn't have that big plethora of social proof. So one, same thing as a remote sales industry, create content that demonstrates without a doubt that you know what you're talking about. So it was all of value-based content to start with. So when people see our socials, even though it's talking
Yeah.
head, I literally sit here and talk about it, which seems, I overthought it at the start. It works perfectly. You show you know what you're talking about. Then
Mm-hmm.
as soon
To
as you get
credibility,
customers, yep, you prove that you can do what you say you can do. But all of
verified.
that rides off a very clear brand image that talks
Mm-hmm.
not about what you are, but talks about the problems that your customers have and
Yeah.
then how you fix them.
Right. Right. Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. So clarity in messaging mixed with credibility and the ability to verify.
Mm. I
And
wouldn't
then I
even,
want to.
I would go deeper than
Yeah.
clarity in messaging, in that being
Okay.
able to systematically pull apart the industry that you're in and
Yeah.
not just your perception of the problems that they have, get the
All
real
right.
data on what problems they
Yep.
actually have. And
Yep.
the way it's explained to me is when people see our website, our content, when they speak to us,
Mm.
they actually understand. Like
Yeah.
finally
Yeah.
someone gets
Yeah.
it.
I found my guy. I
Yeah.
found my guys. I found guys that get me.
Yeah.
It's like these guys created this. I mean, this is the internal narrative, and this is why sales gets really easy when you get on the right offer and you're really good and you're able to make create an experience. The prospect asks to buy from you. You don't sell to them, and they ask to buy because they have some sort of internal narrative. It's like, I found my guy. I found the one. Oh, I finally found the option I was needed. And then the only obvious thing to do when that's the case is ask to buy from you.
Mhm.
Cool. Last question for me. What would be the one or two things you've really leveraged from your last 5 years? Because you were hardcore remote high ticket, as I've been, but you were hardcore in that world like I was, or I still am actually, until maybe 6 or so months ago. What would be the one or two major things that you've leveraged or really lent on from your last 5 or 6 years experience that has really helped you and move things forward in the new world you're in?
The patience in understanding a startup, for one, being
Okay.
able, just kind of being comfortable in that scramble and knowing the levers that
Yep.
you need to pull to get something from 0 to 1. And the other thing
Where
as
did you
well,
where did you learn that from? From selling other people's offers that were startups, or from talking to startup founders, or somewhere else?
every high ticket coaching program is a startup. I've been in
Yep.
some that when you're in them, you're like, oh my God, this is an absolute shit show. How am I going to
Yeah.
get on top of this?
Yeah.
Being
Okay.
in that so many times, you think that it's the worst. You're anxious all of the time, or stressed, or frustrated. And then you get into doing something on your own and things are going wild and you're just, complete lighthouse, calm seas. Um, Not something that I expected would be of an impact, but that I was just, I knew that if we followed the course, if we did the right things, and on top of that, starting my own things like building a brand from zero, creating the courses from zero, building
Yeah.
credibility around those, and then
Yeah. Yeah.
leveraging that
All right.
as well.
Makes
And the
sense.
second thing would be, you're not on a sales call to be someone's best friend, but you are there to build some kind of connection with them. You're on a sales call to figure out the factors at play, whether you can actually help them or not.
Yeah.
And so knowing what you need to pull off a sales call, but also being super relaxed.
Yeah. 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 You've obviously had so many reps of that. What you just said then. Amazing. Well, hopefully that inspires some of our viewers who are still in high ticket, not necessarily to leave high ticket now, but to know that back to that compounding effect we touched on earlier in the book you referenced, the skill set, the mindset, the experience set, the contacts you're making now stack and absolutely can be transferable into other worlds. Absolutely. So, sales, especially contract-based sales and remote sales, is a great apprenticeship for entrepreneurship. It's a great
100%.
soft entry into that world. Absolutely, it's arguably a form of it, but it's a soft entry into that world. You're around those sorts of people all day. You eat what you kill. You're outside the corporate bubble. You fund your own development and learnings. You have the ability to pivot and go into different industries, different offers, different price points, different avatars, all those sorts of things. And like you said before, James, you get comfortable in environments with a lot of chaos and a lot of messiness that often gel and crystallize in real time in front of your eyes. And you get to observe that and be a part of that and take those learnings and maybe do something with it in the future.
Cool. Well, I think this is a good spot to tie it in a bow.
Yeah, congratulations on your success this year.
You
You've
as well.
personally, how does it make you feel personally? And obviously in a business sense.
Amazing. All right. I will thank you very much and I'll talk to you soon.
See you then.